Go.
Hello, how are you? Welcome back to Mary's Kitchen. I had so much fun last week showing you how to make a very simple and easy Greek tzatziki that I thought I'd come back this week and show you how simple and easy it is to make some Spanikopita or spinach pie. I've got all my ingredients here. I usually don't go by measurements, but just to give you an idea of what I've got here today, I've got about 500 grams of some baby spinach, all washed and dried. Over here I have some ricotta cheese, so I've got about 400 grams of ricotta cheese, some Australian feta which has been grated, there's about 200 grams of that, and about 250 grams of just normal tasty cheese. I bought whatever was on special at the supermarket this week. I've got 3 beaten eggs here, about a cup of olive oil, just a pinch of parsley, some spring onions, and I've got some rice. So we might assemble the filling first. So into our spinach we'll just put in the parsley. You don't have to use parsley or the spring onions, just adds a little bit of extra flavour. My mother always used to put in a little bit of partly cooked rice into her Spanikopita, which I'll do the same. So look, I don't know, about a dozen spoonfuls, not too much. This with the cheese and the egg just helps bind everything together. So that's enough, I think. Our cheese, let's have a look. So our grated feta, I like using 3 different types of cheeses. It just adds to the flavour instead of just feta cheese. The ricotta also does a really good job of binding everything together. It melts while it's in there, same as the tasty. Excuse me, I'm using my hands just to quicken the process a little bit. Of course you can use any type of feta cheese. Like I said, I've used the Australian feta. It's easy to grate. It's a coarser feta cheese. You could use Danish feta instead of ricotta cheese if you like. Just going to grab a spoon and I haven't added the egg yet, but I'm just going to mix this up a little bit. Let's have a look and see what's going on here. So I'm just mixing it all up, and I'm making a mess at the same time, just to have a look at the quantity, whether I need to add more cheese, whether I need to add more spinach. I'll use my other hand, excuse me, just to make it easier to toss around, make sure that everything's combined. Once I add the egg, the cheese will wilt a little bit, the spinach will wilt a little bit. It looks like there's a fair bit there, but once it cooks down, it won't be as big a quantity. I'm going to add some salt. I've got some great Greek sailor's salt here. Remember, with the feta cheese and the tasty cheese has got salt in there, so you don't need as much salt. I'm going to put some pepper in there as well. Pepper and salt should always be to taste. And here's my eggs. So I'm going to slowly pour those eggs around the spinach, the cheese, the rice. Now I'm going to give it another mix. It's always hard to tell whether you need 3 eggs or 4 eggs. So I'll start off with 3, and if I need more, I'll just add them. Just going to make sure that I'm mixing all that right around. Wish there was an easy way to do this. there is with your hands. Alright, I think that's just about done, and it looks pretty good. One thing about spinach pie or Spanikopita, you can have it hot or it's just as delicious cold. I'm going to make two. Oh, well, we'll start off with one and see how we go. And if there's any remaining ingredients there, I can make another one. You can also make individual spinach pies, and they're in little triangles. They're great if you're having guests over as an appetiser. Alright guys, I think that looks pretty good. Just going to wipe my hands and then we'll start with the assembly. Alright, how does that look? I'll use the big tray. I've got my olive oil here. What I did forget is my brush. Here's my brush. So just dip your brush into the bowl of olive oil. Let's put some olive oil on the bottom of the sheet. Now again, it depends on how you like your spinach pie, on how many sheets you use. I can remember when I was a lot younger, my mother used to make her own filet pastry. So there's one sheet. Our second sheet. Got to work fairly quickly with the filet pastry so it doesn't dry out and it doesn't tear. At this point I just dab some olive oil onto that. That's the key of a nice crispy filet pastry. Now, as I overlap them in different areas. So you could see the first one, I went lengthways that way. Now I'm going lengthways on the outside. I can remember when my children were younger and I was working, I'd spend a Sunday afternoon doing some cooking for the week, and I'd make a couple of spinach pies, Spanokopitas, because they're easy to freeze. Straight out of the freezer, into the oven, half an hour later, dinner's ready. Now, spinach pie is great with a salad if you like, or some beautiful lamb cutlets cooked on the barbecue with some oregano, olive oil and lemon, and you've got a fantastic dinner. I hope you've been counting. I haven't been counting how many sheets of filet pastry I've put on here. So I've probably got 6, I would say. I might use a couple more. Let's go this way again. And you can see that I'm not covering the whole base with the pastry. On that side I've got more hanging over. On this side I'll cover the base and I've only got a little bit of the filet pastry hanging over. Well guys, I think that's almost ready to fill. I'll grab my tongs for this. Send me that cheese. So just build it up. Mix it around so you've got an even consistency of the spinach leaves, the cheese, the rice, the egg mixture. And you can fill this right up, because as it cooks the spinach will wilt slightly and it'll flatten out. going to mix this up a little bit. I reckon that's enough ingredients for one more. What do you reckon? Will we make one or two? I think that's a pretty... I can make a small bit out of that. Alright, I'll just scrape some of that cheese off there. Alright, for the next bit, folding it over. So try and fold it over in order. I'm not going to fold it over perfectly. I like it looking nice and rustic. Again, the olive oil. If it's too long like it is here, just tuck it over. Tuck it in. And like I said earlier on, the olive oil makes it, the filo pastry, nice and crispy, adds to the flavour. Some people use a mixture of olive oil and melted butter. Some people use just butter. I think for a savoury dish on filo pastry, olive oil is the key. But like I just said earlier, you can add some melted butter to that as well. So that little bit was a little bit long, so again, just tuck it under. This is coming together nicely. How easy is this? It might seem like I'm using a lot of olive oil, but really I'm not. We're nearly coming to the end. Now, I've preheated the oven. I'm going to put this in at about 180 degrees. We'll see how that goes. Be careful not to cook the filo pastry too quickly. And be careful it doesn't burn. So we'll put it on at 180 degrees for about half an hour. Check it in about 15 minutes. You might have to turn the dish around. Although they say you don't really need to do that with fan forced ovens nowadays, but I like an even brownness on the top of my spinach pie. How does that look? Ready to go in the oven. I'll whack that in the oven and then we'll put the second one together just to show you how quick and easy it is to make. I'll be back in a sec. We'll just turn the oven down to 180. Again, this is a small one. This might be one to freeze. Or to take down to the in-laws as a bit of a treat. Again, the filo pastry, no rhyme or reason the way I lay it. Always important to make sure that your kitchen surface when you're cooking is clean. Marble is great as a cooking surface. This is just the Antonio filo pastry. I did a while ago notice that they made a thicker filo pastry, but I haven't been able to find it. And of course some of the great Greek delis around Melbourne have a thicker filo pastry as well. And this is where I've been able to buy some of my Greek ingredients, like my Greek oil, my vinegars there, salts. It'll be interesting to see what happens over in Greece. So I think I heard on the news today that they're talking about some tax reforms over there, which will be good. It's a beautiful country. So is Australia. Now, so not to waste the cheese, I'm going to add the rest of the cheese into this. So this will be more of a cheesy spinach pie, as well as Spanikopita. Greeks also make a Spanikopita, which is a cheese pie. I'll just add a little bit more of the rice to that. Look, you can hardly tell that the rice is in the pie. But I'm pretty sure Mum said that she used to add just a tiny little bit of rice to hers, and it par-cooked, so not uncooked and not fully cooked, because it helps soak up some of the juices as the spinach wilts while it's cooking. Just giving that a little bit of a mix. So again, this one is tasty cheese, ricotta and Australian feta. You could use a mixture of Australian feta and Danish if you wanted instead of the ricotta. But again, I always put that little bit of tasty cheese in there just for some added flavour. Look, I think that looks pretty good. Over the next couple of days, I'm going to make some authentic creamy Greek yogurt, where I have strained the yogurt beforehand, just to show you a difference, that there's different methods of making tzatziki. Depends on whether you want it as a dip or as a firmer dressing or condiment, if you like, that you can use as a dollop on baked potatoes. Again, if it's too long, just tuck it in, fold it over. I can see this one comes first. Again, tuck it in there. And like I said, one to eat now and one to freeze. And when you come home from work, and you can't be bothered cooking, why would you order takeout when you can have a fantastic spinach pie in the freezer? You know what's gone into it. It's all nice fresh ingredients. Whack it in the oven. Mix up a Greek salad and you've got a fantastic dinner. Now I was just going to say how inexpensive it is to make this. I think all the ingredients to make the 2 spinach pies would be less than, I'm just trying to think, less than $20. That's with the filo pastry. Okay, how's that? Our second little spinach pie. I'm going to put this in the oven and I'll be back in about 15-20 minutes to show you the finished product. Hope you've enjoyed Mary's Kitchen so far. Thank you.